Well, welcome back to Close It Now. Sam Wakefield here. I will put on my podcaster voice for a minute and use that creepy voice. So sounds like some of you that go out and use the creepy salesman voice. Let's stop doing that, everybody. So awareness moment. When you pay attention, if you find yourself sliding into that creepy salesman voice, just pay attention and stop. In fact, make fun of it and tell your homeowners, like, oh my gosh, that happens sometimes. Sorry. Let's just have a normal conversation if you find them being resistant when that happens. So, all of that to say, that's a fun intro into today's episode. I'm so excited to have this guest on. He is a total rock star. I've known him coming up on a year now. We met at a mastermind that we're both a member of, and this gentleman's and with his wife, their company is one of the coolest things that I've seen when it comes to um, reviews and capturing the story from our homeowners, capturing the story from our clients, capturing the story from internally, right? From our own people within our company, the message we want to get out. So I am happy to introduce, this is Dan Lievens. He is the founder and CEO of a company called Share One, which if you haven't heard of them up till now, you will hear of them because they are quickly becoming a household name in the video review market and in the basically just all of the ways to capitalize and capture your homeowner story or just any stories. So thank you for joining us on the show today, Dan. And I know I'm probably butchering exactly what Share One does, and we'll get some clarity on it here in a second. But man, I'm excited you're here and talk to us about the importance of what you guys do.
Well, Sam, thank you for having me on the show. You said drop the voice, right?
Got the creepy podcaster voice.
Hey, Sam, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, absolutely. We're living in such a evolving world when it comes to technology and marketing, especially, and nobody really knows like what's working and what's not. One thing that works one day, it doesn't work the next. And with the economy, with AI, with all these different things, it's like we're all just taking stabs at things and seeing what works. So
Mhm.
it's a fascinating and very fun and volatile world to be in. But thank you for having me today. I'm so excited to dive in deeper on this chat with you.
Yeah, man, this is going to be good. So let's start off with a little bit of it. Usually the interviews we start off with just a quick highlight reel of how you got to where you are, right? Give us your story and your wife's story and introduce us a little bit to who you guys are. And the big question I always like to ask is there a specific life or business philosophy that really drives you guys forward into what you're doing? And then we could talk, of course, about Share One and that kind of thing here in a minute.
Yeah, so I've always been an entrepreneur at heart. I started, my mom says I was like 9 years old as an entrepreneur. We used to live in China. My dad was a diplomat for the Belgian government, and I had the fanciest bike on the block. And because we were diplomats, we were able to import stuff, right? Back then in China, this is like 1979. The everybody had like navy blue and black things, and it was all government issued. I had this purple and red bike,
Oh
and my
wow.
mom tells a story that she was looked out the window and she sees this kid like riding my bike, and like 2 minutes later, she sees another kid riding my bike, and she finally runs to the back and she sees me with a line of folks, and I was collecting 1 yuan for giving people a ride on my bike. So I've been an entrepreneur my whole life.
That is a cool
Um,
story.
yeah, and I've never stopped. I've never stopped. I've founded 12 businesses, and the way I got into marketing and specifically video is back in the day, I opened one of the first co-working facilities in Philadelphia as a means of like bringing together people that are trying to create a business, trying to make the world a better place, providing them office space, providing them shared resources and whatnot, and just witnessing so many businesses fail. And it's not because the idea was bad, it was really their lack of being able to communicate their value proposition. So then I
Mhm.
was like, whoa, like this is the problem. It's marketing,
Right.
it's the way you communicate. So then I started getting into marketing, and this is after running incubators and accelerators and all that. And shortly into marketing, I'm like,
A super
wow,
quick timeout for everybody
yeah,
listening. This is a little different language than we normally hear. Business incubators and and that kind of thing, not baby incubators.
Thank you, Sam. That's a very good distinction.
Yes.
Um, so got into marketing and really helping people communicate what they do, because a lot of times we're so close to what we do, it's hard to communicate, and putting
Hmm.
ourselves in the shoes of the consumer and all that. And very soon got into the power of video. And we'll touch on this probably a little bit later, but
Hmm.
when you write something down, people may or may not read it. When
Right.
you present a video, people immerse themselves in a story. They get to relive somebody else's experience. And at the end of the day, we're trying to get people to drop into their hearts. We're trying to get people to relate to you.
Hmm.
So video became a huge thing for us. And post pandemic, we had a full film studio, live audience stage, and all that. And of course, the pandemic hit. So we were forced to pivot, and we pivoted to online interviews and being able to capture video content remotely. And I'm glad for that change, because
Hmm.
today we're cranking out hundreds and hundreds of videos a month, if not thousands, virtually, super affordably. There's no way we could have ever done that if we're still sending news, not news, but camera crews into people's homes and
Sure.
offices.
Wow, wow, that is incredible. What a cool story. What a cool transition too, because and geez, the pandemic did that with all of us for various things, right? Nobody used to go sell heating and air systems virtually. It had to be done in the home, and now there's companies all over doing. There's a buddy of mine over Aaron over in Kentucky. He's got a team of like three people doing $4 million a year from the office, never setting foot in heating in anyone's home, selling air conditioners. So clearly it can be done virtually. I love that. And talk about a way to scale too.
Yeah, definitely. We are able to. We've got clients all over the country,
Hmm.
some overseas as well, and it broadens the market. And then the second part of the question you asked me was the ethics and the why and the underlying like philosophy of things.
Right.
I love that question, because Share One was born with during one of my meditations. I had this vision. I've got a 15-year-old and an 18-year-old, so I see them on social media and
Hmm.
everybody looking at all this content and what's viral and what's not. And I had this vision of like, what would it look like if every single person on this planet had the opportunity to share one positive experience that impacted them in a positive way.
Hmm.
And if we're to flood all of our channels with these types of positive transformations, and it'll create a ripple effect of other people wanting to do the same thing, right?
Right.
So that's where Share One was born, is really being able to elevate like humanity and human experiences through allowing other people to share their stories.
Hmm.
And that's how Share One was born.
Oh, I love that. That has such a deeper impact too. Now that I know the origin story of the company, so thank you for sharing that. That's nice. So, we talked about something a minute ago that I think would be a really good segue into before we get into the other, just what we're going to talk about reviews and what Share One is. But you were talking about how important it is that we understand how the consumer thinks and how important it is to put ourselves in their shoes. So, question I kind of have is, while everybody is listening and they're thinking along these lines, what exercise can someone do to put themselves maybe in those consumer shoes? What can we do to say they're just starting along these lines? I'm a technician that's open to shop, or maybe I got a decent sized company and we're starting to get things established, but there's a lot of companies right now going from the hey, we'll just take whatever business comes in the door to okay, we're recognizing some clients are better than others. What does that look like? How can they help pinpoint that and move forward there?
One really cool exercise is just kind of hitting the rewind button on your clients. So if you have existing client bases, pick one, pick two, pick 10, and just rewind the entire buying engagement journey all the way down to their AC broke, or their AC is not cold enough, or what is it? And what time of day is it? Are they sitting in their bedrooms at night sweating? Are they complaining about something? And just completely rewind to that very initial need and say, okay, if I'm that person, what am I going to do? I'm going to pick up my phone, right? What am I going to Google? What are the words that I'm going to type?
Hmm.
And forget about what you do. Forget about all the bells and whistles that you can provide or the price or anything like that. Just really think about, hey, fix my AC quickly, or did hail damage my roof, or like
Hmm.
whatever those are. So that's the source of it, right? So that's what they're typing into YouTube or they're typing into Google, and then keeping that frame. Say, okay, so they've got now a list of results, right? What's going to inspire them to click? Are they
Hmm.
needing time? Are they looking for a cool website? Are they looking for a phone number, like whatever that is? And say, okay, so this person now has this pain point and they're looking for this information and they're going to land on my landing page. Answer those questions, right? Don't bombard them with anything else. It's literally like put your horse blinders on or whatever and just put yourself in the customer's shoes and take it step by step by step by step. And for us, when it comes to website, it's like, okay, what did they type in? They typed in something, and what's the first feeling? What's the first emotion? What's the first word? What's the first image that person needs to see to be able to say, hey, I'm in the right place?
Hmm. Hmm.
Right. So that's a really cool exercise that we do all the time in terms of being able to put ourselves in the consumer's shoes. And we're a victim ourselves of being so close to what we do, but we do all this cool stuff and we can do
Hmm.
Instagram reels, we can do all these things. No, at the end of the day, it's like, what are people looking for? They want more conversions.
Right.
They want leads to say yes. They want social proof, whatever that is, right? So really being able to do that exercise and go through your database of the last 20 clients and say, what were they thinking? And what's the emotion that they wanted that they're feeling? And how do we make that emotion feel better? How do we make them feel safe? How do we make
Right.
them want to take action? How do we want to make sure they don't bounce from our web page,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm. I love this. This is so much in alignment with what I normally, um, where most people mess up in the sales process, and this carries over into this conversation. Is we get out to people's houses and we think the problem is whatever we find that's broken. Right. The ductwork is disconnected, so it leaks air into the attic and doesn't get to this one room, or whatever the problem is. We think it has to do with that, but this is so much what I've been saying for a while now. The problem is what the homeowner experiences in their house. The problem is my room is too hot in the summer.
Mm.
It's caused by the physical whatever thing we found. So it's the exact same thing here. So if everybody listening, the reason I bring that up is we already know how to do that in our sales process. Carry that thought through into this conversation, because that's really where Dan is going, is what is the problem? What is the pain point? And that is the thing that we've got to speak to for when we're doing this. So uh, tying that bridge together is a good analogy to help get it a lot clearer, I think. So once we have that, then Dan, what do we do with it, right? So we've got that clear picture, and then where do we go from there?
So when let me kind of jump into video
Mm-hmm.
testimonials, and I'm a marketer. I've run many different businesses, and I'm not just like the video guy, right? Actually, I
Sure.
never really was a big video like videographer or anything like that. I'm just using video because I find it to be one of the most powerful tools in marketing. So when we help our businesses collect testimonials, we kind of go through a similar exercise. We say, who's your client,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if your typical client is male and they're between 40 and 45, and whatever ethnicity, and they have 2.5 kids and they live in whatever, well, those
Mm-hmm.
are the people that you want to interview. Right. We're trying to create that, hey, I feel at home. Hey, this video is aimed for me because I can see myself in that person.
Right.
So that's number one, is really kind of picking the people, right? The last thing you want is um, a complete opposite. If you're interviewing an 18-year-old just because have a really good voice, they're not going to relate to that. They can say whatever they want, they're not going to relate to it. So
Right.
that's number one, is really being able to pick the right people for your interviews. And second, during the onboarding process, when we're really trying to figure out, hey, what are the perfect sound bites for you? The question is, what are your objections?
Mm-hmm.
What are your main objections? What are people thinking when they're debating whether to hire you? And so if we know what the objection is, if we know the objection is there's a lot of competition and I'm going after price, then the first thing that we want to capture during a video testimonial is, hey, at first I thought that getting a new roof was all about competition and price, but little did I know when
Hmm.
I went with them, I got X, Y, Z,
Right.
right? So we take those objections and we convert them into a statement that that your clients are actually declare on your website. So before your prospects even think about it, objections are already taken care of,
Love it.
right?
Yeah, that's so cool because I mean, every bit of this, it fits the flow of truly how, I mean, coming from a sales perspective, it fits the flow of how, we should design our sales flow anyway, which is handle the objections before they come up. So it's not new information. We're just reminding them. And they're like, oh, yeah, you said that. And so this is like starting even a step further ahead of that before we even show up. And the coolest thing, what I love about this too, is I've been a fan of video for a long time, sending video follow ups and video communication and even on the way video to introduce us before we even arrive. But what this does, it adds so many touches ahead of time because thinking like a marketer, I mean, how many touches does it take to before a buying decision happens, right?
27 or
Yeah,
something.
something ridiculous. So this huge number, and so with the more touches we can add before we ever show up, then we're chopping away at those. So let's talk about the power of video because I've from my limited knowledge, you obviously know a lot more about it than I do, but I've functioned from the living room effect type of philosophy, and but let's expand on that a little bit. Tell me some stats. What's the importance of why video, right?
So we touched on it a little bit earlier. Well, first of all, let's talk about reviews in general.
Yeah, for sure.
And everybody uses Google and Yelp and Better Business Bureau and all that. There's a piece of research by Bright Local, and they did a survey on how suspicious are you of fake reviews when reading these sites. And on average, 82% of consumers have some level of suspicion when it comes to written reviews, even on platforms like Google and Yelp.
Wow.
So right off the bat, um, people are already like, well, I'm not sure if I believe this. And then the other thing too is if you have a website with 1,000 written testimonials, people aren't going to read it. They're going to look at it and say, okay, cool, check. This person has reviews,
Hmm.
and they move on to the buying process. If there's a video and they watch the video, they get immersed into a story. And most of us, if I were to ask you to think about, one piece of advertising that you remember, I guarantee you it's going to be a video or an image, right? It's
Sure.
not going to be some words. So there's
Yeah.
power in the human mind to be able to relate to and remember images and video.
Hmm.
So it's more memorable, and also being able to take somebody through a hero's journey, which is typically our story formula for video testimonials is, hey, where was I when I was in pain? What happened? How did I
Hmm.
feel? Then I met this person, the solution got solved, and now I live a happy life, right? So this whole
Right.
little valley kind of a thing. And being able to take somebody through that with your brand and your past clients builds immediate trust.
Hmm.
So it's super powerful. And then if you want to talk about, why 82% of population are skeptical, and I think a lot of people are sure they're maybe buying reviews and whatnot, but then there's also AI.
Hmm.
Anybody can go into AI today and say, hey, write me a review or do this and do that. So information is getting so diluted, and it's hard for people to trust it anymore, and they get
Sure.
just overwhelmed. So with Share One, we guarantee that every single Share One video is a representation of a true transformation by a human being. So we trademark by humans for humans, and it gives people that sense of safety and also connectivity to another human being.
I love it.
So
I love it.
so for those reasons, I think video are absolutely king.
Well, talk us through then what Share One does and how why it's so effective in gathering the testimonies that it is able to get to gather.
That's a good question, Sam. There are a lot of platforms out there that automate the process of collecting testimonials, including video testimonials. Let me give you one example. We had a client, they sent out a list to 2,000 of their clients asking for a video review. I'm not going to name the platform that they use, but there are a few out there.
Sure.
After 3 or 4 emails, they received 2 videos back.
Hmm.
out of 2,000 requests. One of them was unusable because the person was rambling on and the camera was kind of pointing up their nose and they couldn't even use it. So one out of 2,000.
Hmm.
With Share One, we take special care in first identifying who we want to interview, how they're feeling, how do we honor them, and how do we make them feel like you're so special? It's like me saying, Sam, I'm going to send a news crew to your house tomorrow for you to share your story. Are you going to say no? No, you're going to be honored, right? So that's a
Yeah.
similar approach that we take during an invitation process. So to date, we have a 47% conversion rate from the time that you identify a client that you want to record a testimonial from to the time that we actually do the recording. And
Nice.
that's our white glove invitation process. At the end of the day, similar to what you teach, I'm sure, is treat them like human beings,
Hmm.
right? So the invitation process is critical. And especially when they show up, like everybody that does an interview with one of our interview directors, they feel like, oh my God, this is great, this is fun, this is so easy because we help them out. We tell them what to say. We tell them like finish the sentence, say this, say that. How'd you feel about this? But I think I might have jumped the gun there. So Share One, we
No,
help
that's good.
businesses.
So yeah, walk us through the nuts and bolts now.
So when a client comes to us, we go through the onboarding process where we look at the pain points, the objections, the avatars, all those things we had just discussed, and we reverse engineer the whole process. So what are the perfect sound bites? What's a perfect video testimonial that you want to collect? And then from there, we identify the people, we figure out what questions we're going to ask, and we train all of our interview directors on the specifics of that outcome. So the invitation goes out to your client, and we follow up with the client until they book. They do a virtual interview with one of our producers, our live human being producers, and then that's a 20 to 30-minute interview. During that interview, our interview directors know exactly what they're doing. They're asking the right questions. And once the interview director feels like we have all the sound bites we need to give you that perfect testimonial, we hang up the phone and we take that 30-minute video footage and we edit it down to 2 or 3 minutes. We add captions, we add music, and we deliver that back to you. Once you like what you see, you can keep it as it is. You can do whatever you want with it. We can also give you Facebook ads out of it, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, whatever footage or social media needs you have. And we have tons of ideas on how to use video testimonials to increase your conversions. So that, in a nutshell, is our business.
Love it. I love it. So this is everybody listen. I mean, as we know, this testimonies are everything in, especially in home, any kind of home service, right? I mean, testimonies are incredible and everything. In fact, yesterday, heck, I was driving to get my daughter from school, and I was driving by just the one-off emergency rooms that they have, and right on the front of the marquee, it's got the flashing LED sign, and it's got the temperature, and it's got some announcement that they had, and then the very next thing was Google reviews, and it had the number and it had the star rating right there. It was like 1,407. This is crazy because I remember yesterday. It was from yesterday. It was 1,417 4.9 star average rated Google reviews for this place, and I was like, "That's brilliant. Why don't we put that on our signs?" Right? Just as everyone's like, let's put your sign on the front. Why not? Right? Just tell people what we do. But the video, man, the video testimony is so powerful. But just because of the story that it tells. And I love that. So, how can we use some of these video testimonials, right? I mean, so one of the things that this podcast is known for is every episode we give some sort of actionable item that people can implement right away. So say they use, just grab some video testimonials, or say they, get a hold of you and they start doing some share one testimonies. How do they use them? What moving forward once you have those? What are some best practices there?
I'll share with you a few case studies that our clients have had a lot of success with,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the last few months. They take our video testimonials because we move like the hottest, the juiciest part up front. So the first like 8, 9 seconds is something really, really powerful and hot. And they'll use our testimonials and run them as Facebook ads strictly. And they have tens and thousands of conversions just by running testimonials on Facebook.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
that's one super powerful thing you can
Brilliant.
do. You can add it to your mix of social media content, so your content calendar, instead of just talking about technologies or roofing techniques or whatever that is. Occasionally, 1 out of 4, 1 out of 5, throw in a video testimony of somebody talking about your services. We had a a business, and their sales process was you hop on a call, they discuss, the the service, and they follow up with a proposal.
Hmm.
And they would sit there and wait until the person signs a proposal. So they've been doing that for years, and then they started using our video testimonials. And with the proposal, they sent
Sounds
out a
like you
video
need to connect me
testimonial.
to him. No.
And for this particular company, we helped them create a handful of different testimonials. So depending on who they're talking to,
Hmm.
they were able to pick the closest avatar to the person they're talking to. And along with the proposal, they would say, hey, take a look at this video. Their conversion rates went up 40%
Holy
just by
jeez.
changing, just by adding that one video during their sales process. I'm not suggesting that's going to happen to everybody, but for this particular case,
Yeah.
that's what that consumer needed.
Hmm. Hmm.
And to touch on the power of testimonial and the sign with the Google reviews, I love quoting Dr. Robert Cialdini. So I've got his book in front of me here. Over
Influence,
five
yeah, such a
million.
good book. So, quick pop out. Influence is going to be in the book club soon here in the next few months. I've got it on the list for everybody listening. So make sure to join the Close It Now book club.
Awesome. Yeah, over 5 million copies sold. This guy is bar none the psychology of influence, and anybody who sells anything needs to read this book for sure. Join the book club. So what he says in there is the 95-5 rule.
Hmm.
And basically what it means is that only 5% of the population are instigators. 95% of the population are imitators. Now,
Hmm.
there's nothing wrong with being an imitator, right? Most of us are, I am too. So an imitator is a person that looks and see what other people are doing. So if somebody has an iPhone, or somebody has a new speaker, or somebody has a new roof, and they follow, 95% of the population bases their decision on imitating somebody else's behavior. Only 5% of the population are actually the initiators. They're the ones that are going to go out and buy the latest iPad or latest whatever,
Hmm.
and they're willing to take the risk on something new.
Sure.
So when you're selling something, and you're selling on benefits, and you're selling on all the things that you do, then you're only addressing really 5% of the population.
Hmm.
The other 95 is waiting to see what their neighbors do and who their neighbors are using.
Right.
And that's the power of influence, and that's the power of referrals, that's the power of testimonials and reviews, right?
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
why that matters so much. And even on us, when you go on Amazon and you go shopping, what's the first thing that you do? How many
Read the
stars?
reviews, of
4, or
course.
is it 4.5, right? Or is
Yeah.
it 4 3/4?
Let's not get anything under 4.8 stars. That's all I'm looking at, right?
So that's human influence,
Yeah.
and then I've been a victim of that too. Is like, hey, we can do this, we can do that, we can do this, and it's all new stuff.
Hmm.
But little did I like finally realize, like, wow, they don't want to hear that. They want to hear somebody else's story, right? And that's
Yeah.
probably why the majority of new businesses in your industry is word of mouth and referrals, as
Oh,
neighbors.
so much, so much. And that's why even the language that, that I train to use in the house is so much of it is introducing so many things. If you were to sit with me for an hour and a half in an appointment, you probably could count a dozen times I'll say, so what most people do, and what everybody in this neighborhood loves to do, and what
Hmm.
all of your neighbors love to do. Those kind of
Yeah,
expressions just become natural language because it's the herd mentality, that social proof, right?
absolutely. What every other businesses like to do is collect video testimonials.
Yeah. Well, but that's the thing is they don't, and that's why it's such a unique value proposition right now. Right? It's like nobody's hardly collecting video testimonies. So when we do, we become the big standout, which is cool. So what are some other ways that we can use? So we can use social media testimonies for, and just putting the stories out for people for engagement on social media. I'm sure these can live on like websites and things like that as well.
Absolutely. So websites, landing pages, if you do any presentations that have some kind of screen involved, by all means, do some supercuts of testimonials in there.
Yeah.
If you guys send out regular emails, newsletters to your existing client base, Don't undermine that. Again, it's the 95, right? So even if they have a new, AC unit, being top of mind for the next dinner party when somebody says, "Hey, my AC's crapping out" or something, you're top of mind. So
Mhm.
being able to send these stories, and people want to see it. There's like this almost sense of vulnerability of like, "Ooh, I want to peek into their lives, right? And see
Yeah.
what they're doing, right?" So that's super, super powerful. And we have recently launched a widget. So everybody's probably familiar with the chatbot widget at the bottom of the website. So we now have a video testimonial widget that can sit on any corner of your website. And when they click on it, basically your video testimonials just automatically start playing. So that's a super, super easy way of making sure that video testimonials are front and centered in any website or sales pages
Oh, I love that.
out there.
hmm Man, I love that too. This is total tech talk, real quick, but I love that it's a widget that you have to click to open it, so it doesn't bog down the website either until it's opened, and then we watch it. So great,
Yeah,
good
and
thought.
And a lot of people get annoyed at going to a website and the video automatically starts playing. It's like, no, I don't want to listen to it. How do I mute it? Or like,
Yeah,
am I
yeah,
disturbing my
something
wife
you
because
would
I'm in
might want
bed?
to watch, but because it auto starts and forces you into it, it turns you off immediately. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And of course, having subtitles and everything is critical. I
hmm
don't remember what the stats are this day and age in terms of what percentage of people watching videos aren't even listening to the audio. They're just reading subtitles.
Sure.
So
I feel like it's
every
a
one of
pretty
our,
big number, though.
yeah, it's pretty big. It's pretty big.
Mhm.
So make sure any video that you throw out there, add captions to it, and then you're ADA compliant as well. So don't forget about that.
Love this. So there's all kind of ways. So something else I was thinking, everybody, how you can use your video testimonies is one outbounding, right? Those should be in your company newsletters, in every messaging out that you send. Individual reps having a collection of a handful, just like Dan was saying, having a collection of a handful of different stories, different types of people that you can attach along with. For example, quotes for ones that don't sell in the house to follow up to close it, like Dan was talking about, or when we do make the sell in the house, when you do close a deal, sending one of those as, again, with a similar demographic, because it helps lock the deal in. It helps become very much, instead of somebody having buyer's remorse, it helps to encourage them that they made the right decision. So it can also be used on the backside for that kind of reinforcement as well. So just
So
brainstorming out loud all these
yeah,
different things here.
you mentioned those three guys sitting in office and never leaving it and closing millions of sales. Another cool strategy potentially is the first outreach is say, hey, I've got a video from your neighbor that you need to watch
Mhm.
as a cold outbound, right?
Wow.
Email.
hmm
It's like, okay, I'm gonna watch that.
Yeah. No, this is actually your neighbor,
Yeah, it is, right?
right? Oh, I love
So you
this.
can use like one video testimonial, hit a whole blanket of communities or whatnot. That could be super powerful. I'd love to see the open rates on that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'll R&D it for you. Something else that's going on, everybody, is you're going to be seeing a lot more of video testimony coming up here pretty quick. I'm actually getting some video testimonies for Close It Now, as well as, so you will, for everybody in the community, you'll get to see firsthand what Share One is able to do, because I want you to, um, for everybody listening, I don't bring companies like this to the community if I don't 100% believe in them. There's been a few across the last 4 or 5 years that have come and gone, not because I didn't believe in them, just for other various reasons. There's been a couple, but everyone who is on the list right now as our recommended providers are incredible. They are the top of the industry in what they do, and Share One is no doubt the same. So that's why I'm excited to introduce them to the Close It Now community, because it's a huge missing piece in what we do, especially in the market the last couple of years, especially this year with sales being down so much. We have to differentiate. And more importantly, I love this so much because it stays in total alignment with the Close It Now mission and ideology and methodology of, I'm using big words, everybody. It stays consistent with the Close It Now message of a heart piece connection. We've got to connect at the heart level and have emotional connections with our homeowners and truly care at the highest level. And this helps to show how we care, because people will forget what we say to them, but they'll never forget how we make them feel. And stories sell. Facts tell, stories sell. So, quick little this is my soapbox because I'm so passionate about this, man. It's one of those things that when you know the power of something and when you see so many people just completely underutilizing it, it's you get really passionate about helping more people. I know through communication with you, Dan, that you're very much the same. It's like you see all of this, and it's like, how do we reach more people faster? Because it's such a great tool, right?
Absolutely. And at the end of the day, what we're doing is if somebody has a good experience and their life is positively impacted, why shouldn't they share? Why shouldn't other people have access to that?
Mhm.
So going back to the uses when when you're talking, it just dawned on me that we have there's creative ways of doing this, right? It's not just strictly, oh, I had this problem and now it's fixed.
Mhm.
So Compass Real Estate, they're a client of ours. Their SC division, their Sports and Entertainment Edition. So what we do there is we came up with this creative strategy of instead of saying, oh, buying a house was easy and da da da, we are interviewing all their celebrities and sports folks that have used Compass to like discreetly buy and sell homes and whatnot. And the idea that we came up with was, hey, instead of just talking about the transaction, let's talk about like what does a home mean to you?
Mhm.
Right. Especially if once you reach that status, you may feel like, wow, I've got a $7 million home but I grew up in the the back streets of Philadelphia or whatever.
Sure.
They may have some guilt around it, but it's like, hey, share with us, like, what does it mean to have a home? And like some
Mhm.
of these answers are like, I just want a big enough living room to where my entire family can sit on the couch and watch football together because that's the heartbeat of my family, or something like that, right?
Wow.
So they take this content of our interviews and they slice it up and they throw it all over social media, and it's getting really really good reviews.
Mhm.
It's getting a lot of views. So there's different creative ways of using this video content. At the end of the day, what Share One does is we have a real, very smart human being who's conducting the interview, and we can shape and form that
Mhm.
interview into whatever it is that whatever creative campaign that we're looking for.
Cool. So here's a question. Once somebody, I don't know how well this can be done, but say you do a 35-minute interview with me for the purpose of a review, say for Share One for your company, and then 6 weeks later you're wanting to change the campaign to a different message. Can you Is there enough content in that original recording to just repurpose it, or is that something that has to be re-recorded? So I'm asking for partially for the sake of my of the listener base, because how do we redo, get into the different campaigns and things? Do we have to re-record every time? Walk us through what that kind of looks like.
The one thing that we make sure that we do is, and I know like I shouldn't do it because we'll get more business if we didn't. But I want to make sure that this video is going to live with you guys, and you guys can use this video for a long time. So we try not to mention dates, we try not to mention seasons, we try not to mention specials, we try not to mention prices. So really about capturing the story, even when it comes to names. If you're running a specific campaign or some kind of a special, we try and refer back to the parent company, something that's going to stick around for a while. Then you get the flexibility of creating the ads or creating the copy, or doing intro slides or closing slides or different call to actions, but keeping that video story as a heartfelt share
Yeah.
is something that we strive for so that people don't need to come back to us every few weeks. Hey, we changed our, neighborhood or whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't
Sure.
matter. We try and keep it evergreen.
Oh, that's beautiful. I'm glad that is the answer, because that'll really, I think, help a lot of people listening that are thinking right now of possibly how they could use this, or how to use any video testimonies into their, fit it into their budget or their campaigns.
So in that same vein, though, Something else that you want to keep in mind. I'll share an example. So if I'm in a market for a black t-shirt with red buttons, right? And I go on a website and there's a review about their clothes. I'm like, oh, okay, cool, right? If there is a video testimonial on a person that looks like me that's wearing a black shirt with red buttons, I am sold.
Hmm.
I'm not looking anywhere else, right? So being able to be specific about the product or service that you guys are providing is also very, very powerful. So when I say evergreen, I really mean like the minor things, right? The pricing and whatever. But
Sure.
if you're really going after a specific type of roof, like have people mention that. Because if I'm in a
Hmm.
market for that specific type of roof and I hear somebody have a good experience with that product with you, then I'm
Yeah.
halfway there. I'm sold.
Hmm. Hmm. I love this. This is powerful in the conversation. So I'm taking all of this, and it's incredible how much this applies to so many different categories as well. It's like the more that it's like the classic when you first go to like a networking group like a BNI or something, and they train us how to give our elevator pitch. So quick side coaching for everybody listening. If go to a networking group, they're going to ask you to talk about your company and what you do for 30 to 45 seconds, maybe a minute. That minute is or 30 seconds is the shortest amount of time you'll ever experience. But what they told us was, of course, if you say you do something for everyone, everyone else hears that as you do this service or product for no one. We've got to be specific in the ask. So they would just be so specific and the lesson here is when we're doing this, the more specific we get, it's not that the person that we're talking to thinks that we're looking for that specific person, but what it does do, it opens up their mind into saying, well, I'm not exactly that, but I'm close. Or this is not the referral that they're asking for, but I know somebody that's close to that. So it gets the brain working and start unlocks the cobwebs and opens it up. So when we're doing these exercises, everybody, it's really important that don't stay general. We've got to be
Mhm.
specific in what we're looking for. We have to be specific in our demographic and the avatar in the message, right? And one thing at a time. Don't flood it with 1,000 different things. It's one thing at a time, so every people can pay attention to the one thing, and then the next video is the next thing, and then the next video is the next thing. You're not going to do 5 different topics in one video. So, just quick
So
little side
Sam,
notes for everybody that's super important and powerful here.
that's a really really good but very hard lesson. Like even for me, like I talk to my mentors in business, and they're like, "Dan, you gotta niche down, man. You're doing testimonials for everybody, right?"
Mm-hmm.
And it's like if I came on this show and said, "Hey, I do video testimonials for roofing companies only,"
Mm-hmm.
it'd be a different conversation,
Sure.
right? So to your point, it's a very, very hard thing to do, especially if you're more generalized and you are an amazing HVAC person, you're also an amazing pool person, you're also an amazing roof person. But if you approach the market like that, you're going to make less money at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so, so hard to do because immediately as a business owner, I'm like, I'm leaving money on the table. People should value me for this and that too, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But there's a certain number. I think if you reach like what is it like after 5 million of top line or 10 million top line, then you can start to diversify. There's a
Yeah.
business rule somewhere. But if you're south of that, it's like just niche down and specialize.
Focus on what you're good at, right?
Focus on what you're good at. So I tell my mentors, you know what? I don't do video, any kind of video. I only do video testimonials. So that's my niche.
Yeah, love it. This is so cool. I'm thinking so total brainstorm here as well. This is the last brainstorm, and then we'll start to land this plane a little bit. But I'm also thinking of for everybody in the field that if you're a especially a comfort advisor or a project manager, but this could be for technician or whoever else as well. Now, business owner, if you're owner of the company, close your ears for a second. You may or may not like this. I think it's used properly. It's extremely powerful. But I feel like every representative, you should be out there. You should create your own personal web page, website, your own personal website for you and what you do that's not connected to the company that you're at. Maybe have that in your write up, but because we know our industry and things happen, You are creating your own resume. So the more testimonies that you get, and it doesn't matter in this video testimonies, and pay for it yourself, collect video testimonies. Doesn't matter if they say the name of the company in there, because across time, you know, say you move companies, who cares? You're gonna have other companies or whatever other testimonies, but they're mentioning you, talking about you, how well you took care of them. It's your resume, and this thing builds out over time. When you build the muscle of success in sales, you can literally throw a dart and pick where you want to move and have a job before you ever get there. So this becomes your resume. So when you're looking for a new position, you just send the link to your website to the hiring manager and say, here's a good head start before our interview. Tell me how your interview goes if you start doing this. So that's my quick little message for a side note of another way that we can use these testimonies, because they're so multi-purpose, right?
So let me piggyback on that, and business owners, you can start listening again. Um, so if you go to our website, our About Us page, so it's www.share.one, share one, share.one, there's no .com or anything. And then you go to the About Us page, every single staff member is a video. So it's a video testimony, right? So we have a lot of clients that have like therapists or consultants or whatever. And instead of collecting video testimonies from their clients, we're basically interviewing every employee on there. And what that does, we'll ask, you know, creative questions like, why did you get started in this field? What keeps you passionate when you're not working? Things like that. So when you go to a website, especially a very transactional type of business, and being able to see, oh my God, like these are the live human beings that I'm going to be interacting with. This is the project manager, this is the foreman, this is the salesperson. And there's a cute little video of them talking about that they're real human beings and they care, and you know, this is their hobbies. That's super, super powerful and extremely huge differentiator when it comes to a very competitive landscape like this.
Right.
So being able to leverage, you know, our interview directors, instead of doing testimonials, just do some cool, fun interviews with your staff and your employees.
Love it. Yeah. I mean, talk about a way to really bolster up the About Us section. That tab on the website that most people barely have one or two pictures, or a picture of a pizza or something instead. this, this is the way to really build that
Yeah.
part
Or
out.
worse, like a purchased image or a Getty image or something.
Oh, geez, yeah.
Stock imagery.
Oh, yeah. Or the clip art with like a flame and flame in an ice cube. Oh my gosh. But yeah, so and then again, that is a really killer way to this. We're just brainstorming all kind of things. So one of the big concerns, it always has been and always will be, because first of all, people don't necessarily understand the proper way to recruit. They think just posting a classified ad is enough for hiring, but testimonies from your employees about what it's like to work there, man, that would
That's huge.
completely turn around somebody's ability to recruit.
That's huge. That's absolutely huge. And then let's not forget that there's a reason why YouTube isn't belongs to Google now.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody with video content on their website relevant to your business, we're all playing the SEO game. It does tremendous efforts and a huge ROI for your SEO purposes if you start having videos, because guess what? Your competitors aren't.
Right. Absolutely. And then gosh, yeah. The cool thing, what I love about YouTube, and this is just a quick little tech talk, but for everybody listening, this is an important piece of information to remember and understand. Social media platforms, YouTube, not YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, you know, TikTok, all of those, that's just social media. It goes into a feed and then it gets pushed down and down and down and down. YouTube is a search engine. There's a big difference there, because it doesn't matter how long ago you post that video up on YouTube. If you tag it right, it's a search engine and will come up right away. I personally know a guy that he was making videos 12 to 14 years ago for his company that he was doing at the time, and still to this day has people reach out to say, I want to join your business. I watched your videos. From that was his network marketing company 14 years ago, and they
Wow.
still are ready to join, and he hasn't done it over a decade, but the videos still live there. And that's just an example of how powerful when we get stuff on YouTube is. So for everybody listening, get your stuff on YouTube. I'm speaking to myself as well, because that's my next step also. That's why I know so much about it right now. Oh, good stuff, man.
Yeah,
Well, let's land
SEO.
this plane, brother. I think it's
All right.
we're getting close. This is some good info. The power of testimonies. It's everything, right? Um, so you mentioned it again. Tell everybody again where to go to contact you, how to learn more about Share One, and give us a quick rundown of what it looks like when when somebody wants to work with you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sam. Our website is again www.share.one, so share1.one. It's not .com or anything.
I'll make sure these are
And
in the episode notes too, everybody. So
cool.
don't crash your car trying to take notes while you're at Drive Time University here.
Would you like to share one? From our website, you'll see a bunch of examples, case studies on how other people have used our services. There's a cool little 8-minute video that goes into how we work. There's a pricing page that breaks down how extremely affordable we are. Everything's done virtually. Yes, we use live human beings for everything, but my goal in life right now is really to be able to shift the trajectory of the content that our kids and our next generation get to watch. So if we can flood all of our channels with some positivity and some cool life transforming stories, then that's my goal. So the pricing is super, super affordable. So that's share.one. And then also Sam and I are gonna put together some specials for your audience. So pay attention to share.one/close it now, and we'll make sure we get everybody some cool perks and benefits.
Sweet. I love that. That is for everybody listen. That's actually news to me. So thank you, Dan. I appreciate that very much. And for all of you guys, I don't when I'm working with a company like this to bring them into the community, y'all, my focus is not like how much can I make on the back end. My focus is helping everyone to really fill a hole that I see in our industry. And it's very much that's why I mean 5.5 years later, there's not a single sponsor on this podcast, and honestly, I don't foresee really ever having the need for that. I think it's silly a lot of times. There's room for it, but for everybody listening, I don't want you to be bombarded with just buy my stuff all the time. That's why very seldom do we have that. And this is not that. What I'm bringing to y'all is one of the best tools that I've seen for differentiation in our industry in probably a decade. And this is I 100% am and will be using it for Close It Now. And if you work with us in our on our company level coaching packages, our on-site trainings, this is something we're going to be including as part of that package because I believe in it so much. It's basically becoming a big portion of everything we do. And so, if you're not making videos, guys, go out and make videos. Throw in your phone. Literally, there's nothing easier and more powerful than a video follow up. Throw in your video in your phone. Talk to that homeowner like they're a real person. Say, "Hey, Dan, I wanted to answer your question directly because it's important, and I didn't wanted to make sure you understood what I'm saying." Answer their question. Send them that video, and it will blow you away at what your response rate goes to. Right? It's powerful.
Hey Sam, can I share something with your audience?
Absolutely.
All right, guys. So I've known Sam for about a year now, and we're in this pretty powerful mastermind together where a bunch of business owners get together and we pour our hearts out in terms of, sharing ideas and whatnot. And can I just tell everybody on this show, Sam genuinely is constantly looking and just pouring his heart out and pouring so much energy into finding solutions and being that leader in his industry. And he genuinely like soaks everything up and is looking under every single pillow and nook and cranny looking for the best solutions for you guys. So whether you work with me or not, it doesn't matter, but I want you to know that you are in extremely, extremely good hands with Sam here because he does spend so many hours and waking days trying to make you guys more successful. So Sam, thank you for everything that you do. And thank you for having me on this podcast, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Thank you for those words. And it's very true. That's exactly. It's just I, there's so many things that when you're in an industry that moves so slow and stays behind technology, it takes being very intentional to go outside of that silo to
Yeah.
find things that work. And thanks for saying that, because it definitely is there's a good chunk of my week that goes into that every week, that people don't see. It's that behind the scenes stuff that's like, I'll spend an entire day sometimes tracking down these rabbit trails for stuff because I heard a rumor from somebody who heard a rumor that somebody had a really cool product that might help us. So, but thanks for that, man. And thanks for being on the show. For everybody, yeah, Share One's awesome. You're going to love it. Share.one, share.one// close it now, and you can read more about what it is and what it does. There will be a link on my website as well, and we'll have the widget as soon as it is developed. So you can read some Close It Now video testimonies on the closeitnow.net website. Go to closeitnow.net to learn more about the coaching programs. Last quick announcement: we are taking applications right now for the fall of 2024 and the spring of 2025. If you would like us out to do on-site training for your organization. The testimony I read earlier on a podcast I just recorded, Johnny Guerrero, is pretty cool and is on a Google review. We'll have to get him into a video. But what he said was he's coached with me. Actually, he's coached with me a little over a year. He earned more this last quarter than he did the entire last year, as a selling technician out in the field. So if that's the kind of results that you want for your organization, um, go to closeitnow.net, fill out the form on there, or you can email me directly, sam@closeitnow.net, and we can have a conversation of what it would look like to come do on-site training for your location. But there are limited spots, and they're filling up pretty quick. So I want to make sure that you get your inquiry in soon, so we can have a good conversation before the spots are gone and we have to look at later on next year. So that is the last of the announcements for today. Um, Thank you for listening, everybody. I appreciate it. Thanks, Dan, for being on. Uh,
Thanks for having me, Sam. This is great. Thank you.
Absolutely, man. Until next time, everybody, go be someone worth buying from.